Hola chicos, muy buen día. Antes de empezar con esta pequeña clase, les recuerdo que la clase es en inglés para que tengan en cuenta esto y espero no tengan ningún detalle. Voy a explicar una pequeña parte de lo que es Inglés 1 para bachillerato online. Explico brevemente, el tiempo es el presente simple. Here is a short explanation about the present simple. How do we use it? Well, we use the present simple to talk about something that it is true in present. For example, I'm 19 years old, I am a student, I live in London or I live in Mexico, etc. That one, it is something that it is always true. For example, if you want to explain that you live in a place or maybe that you are 19 or 20 years old, that is true. So that's why we use the present simple. Also, we use it for something that happens regularly in the present. For example, I teach every day in the school. So that one is an activity that I do as a daily routine because that happens always. So that's why we use it. So that's why we use the present simple. And also, we use the present simple for something that is always true. For example, the body contains 206 bones. That one is always true. Or maybe light travels at almost 300,000 kilometers per second. So that one, it is something that it is true. Or maybe you can say water boils with a lot of heat or fire, or I don't know, fruits are sweet or something like that. So that one is something that it is true. Now, so this is how do we use the present simple. We use it for something that it is true. We use it for something that happens regularly. For example, a daily routine or maybe a hobby, or for something that cannot change because it is true. Okay? So that one is the present simple. Now, there are some words that we can use for frequency. For example, there are some adverbs that we use them for frequency like always, never, etc. And those adverbs of frequency are using the present simple. For example, I sometimes go to the cinema, or I sometimes teach software or something like that. So that when it is something, sometimes, some activities that I do sometimes. Or maybe always. For example, I always go to the school. I always have classes. So that one, it is something that happens regularly. Or maybe something that never happens. For example, I never play football, or my coach never plays the guitar, or something like that. So if you see, the adverbs of frequency are sometimes, never, and always. So those are a few examples of adverbs of frequency. Remember, present simple is used to talk about something that it is true, something that happens regularly, or something that it is true, and that's it. Now, here you can see some verbs. You can see irregular verbs, but this list, for me, it is important to check only the infinitive. So you can see the infinitive or the base form, and that's it. So you have two lists. In this one, in the first one, right here, you have the infinitive. In the second one, the second part, it says infinitive, and you can see the second list. If you go to the next one, to this one, you have irregular verbs. Please focus on the part that says present tense. You have present tense and present tense. In that present tense, in the first part, the first verb is to open. And in the second list, it says to arrive. So take a look at that because you need to use only the base. You don't need to use to open or to arrive. You need to use only open. And open means abrir in Spanish, and arrive means llegar in Spanish. The good thing of this list, of the first one, is that you have the meaning in Spanish. And also in this one too, you have the meaning in Spanish too. If you don't know the verbs, you can check the definition. So that's why you have them. So you can check the definition in Spanish in case that you have a problem with them. Now, here in this slide, so you can see some questions. The first question it is, what time do you usually go to bed? That means the time that you go to bed or the time that you go to sleep. So those questions that you see here, it is an exercise where you can practice your present simple, obviously. For example, if you say, I go to bed at 9 o'clock, that one is an example in present simple. Or maybe you can say, I never go to bed. So that one is another example in present simple. Obviously, we go to bed in a time in the day, but right here, so the idea it is that you use the present simple and you practice with these questions. If you go to the next slide, so you can see present simple and you can see my weekly routine. There, you can see some pictures and you can see the example number one. Number one, on Sundays, I do the laundry. So you can see that every picture has a day. Could be Monday, could be Friday, etc. You can see a drawing, and in that drawing, so you can check what can you say about that day. For example, on Sunday, I do the laundry. On Monday, I cook for my friends or for my daughter. So you can say whatever you want, but the idea it is that you use the present simple. If you go to the seventh slide, there it is an explanation of the third person, but using all the verbs, but in third person. For example, in the third person in singular, we use the S at the end of the verse. For example, wants, needs, thinks, gives. Every verb will have an S at the end of the verb. Why? Because this is the way that we conjugate the verbs in the third person. What are the third person? The third person, it is he, she, and it. If you use them, remember to include the S at the end of each verb when you talk in the third person. But remember, there are some rules. For example, for the verbs that ends in Y, so don't forget that the Y changed to IES. For example, cry, cries, fly, flies. So remember that rule. And there are some exceptions for verbs that have vowel and Y. For example, play, pays, or pray. We need to include only an S. This one is the slide number 7. And also don't forget that we include ES for those verbs that have double S, X, CH, and SH. For example, passes, catches, fixes, and pushes. Remember, we use the ES and that's it. Now, in the 8th slide, so you can see an exercise, you are going to use the third person and you are going to answer with the verbs that you see. For example, number 1, the verb is see. So we need to include only an S and the first one is done. The number 2 is take. So you need to include only an S and that's it. And at the end we have brush. That brush will have ES. Why? Because we need to use the ES when the verb has an SH at the end. So this exercise is very easy. Then in the 9th slide, present simple too. So don't forget to use the rules and don't forget to conjugate them. And at the end, chicos, at the end, we have the slide number 10. The slide number 10 that you see right here, it is the time in English. So you can see the examples right there. Then in the slide number 11, so you will see how do we use the slide. For example, from the 12 to the 12, because we have 12 hours, 5 past, 10 past, quarter past, 20 past, 25 past, and half past. So you can see the example. For example, if we have the time right now, 2:05 or 2:05 in Spanish. So you will say 5 past 2, and then you can continue with the rest. When you have the next one, it is 25 to 22, quarter to, 10 to, 5 to, and o'clock. O'clock means en punto, so that one, it is the explanation. If you see the slide number 2, don't forget to check 2 o'clock, 5 past 2, 10 past 2, 2:15, etc. So you can check the explanation in telling the time. And then in the slide number 12, so you will see the time too. So you will see an exercise where you can use the time, tell me which one is the correct one, and that's it. And at the end, in the slide number 13, you have some links. So you have daily routine, you have the time, and that's it. Everyone, every slide, it is in Moodle. In Moodle, you will see every explanation since the week number 1, week number 2, and week number 3. So you can check them. Please don't forget to check all the information. Don't forget to take a look at the links, and don't forget to take a look at them. And by the way, don't forget that we have a chat and you have my email if you want to tell me something, if you have a question, if you have something to say. I will be available to communicate with you. So I will answer, I will reply your emails if you send them, and that's it. So please, everyone, remember you are free to use all the tools that we have, and don't forget to check all the information that I have for you. If you have any questions, you can send me an email, you can send me a message. I will be available for you. I hope that you have a good day, and I hope that you enjoy this class. Thank you.